Welcome to Everyone Can Jam, where everyone can learn to play guitar. And something really important we need to visit about regularly is pain. There's been a lot of comments about that, and there's some very simple things that I can offer that often help relieve pain instantly. So some of them maybe take more time, but there's so much we can say about playing without pain or preventing injury. So we really have to focus on one thing at a time. I wish I could tell it to you all at once. Today we're going to talk about the fretting hand thumb. And there's some principles I'm anxious to share that apply to playing without pain in general. One of them I just want to mention really quick is relax often. This goes for both hands and actually your whole body, but we'll have a whole lesson just about that. But that's something you can apply right away, is to relax often. And I don't mean between each song. I mean like explore the possibilities of relaxing your hand completely between each chord. You might want to practice that slowly at first, and we'll talk more about that later. I'm really anxious to show you the most common thing I see that causes pain. This is the one that sometimes goes away. Well, actually, whenever this has happened, it goes away instantly. A student may say, my thumb hurts, and I say where, and they say here, and then we look at how they're using their thumb. So right away I want to show you what not to do. This is one thing I'll say either never or almost never. I can't imagine why you would ever want to do this, and I'll show you a better way. But sometimes when the thumb is hurting, they would be making their chords with a thumb. See how my whole thumb and that meaty part is lying against the back of the neck, and that causes a lot of strain because your thumb tip is over here, your fingertips are over here, and what you've got is you're working like this, and it causes a lot of work here. So let me show you what you can do instead. So instead of a thumb that's laying against the back of the neck, and I'm going to make a familiar chord shape. I'm going to make the C7 chord shape, if you're familiar with that. Really, the chord shape doesn't matter. I just had to pick something. And I've got, this is what I'm saying, please do not do with your whole thumb and fleshy part of the base of your thumb laying against the back of the neck. This is what we do not want. You want something more like this, where you're using the tip of your thumb, not the whole thumb. Okay? And there's a lot of variations on this, but what we're really going for is using the tip of your thumb instead. Now, one reason it's easy for this to happen is a common misconception. Usually when I start people out, we'll start with a proper left hand, a classical style technique. And often what is taught for the thumb as proper or correct will be something kind of like this. This is what we use in my how to develop good guitar technique. It's a very straight wrist. It's a tip of the thumb. Your thumb is working against your fingers like that. And some people may say, when you position your thumb at the back of the neck, that it should be pointed toward the headstock. So that's okay if your thumb looks like this, but that perhaps is misinterpreted. If my thumb is pointed toward the headstock, we want it like this, with the tip of the thumb working and some air in here between the rest of your thumb and the back of the neck. We don't want it pointed toward the headstock with the whole thing flat down like that. That can cause pain. So getting your thumb up, okay, here's the thing. If you're used to playing like this, and if you're used to playing like this and it's working for you and you're getting good sounds like you like, I understand that it can be awkward at first, and it might seem more difficult at first to make your chord the new way, or the way I'm saying is healthy. But these changes are so worth it. And I want to teach you how you can do it without aggravation. You may have heard me say things like this before. When you're changing your technique, what you want to do is spend a little bit of time at the beginning of your practice, just 5 or 10 minutes, even 3 to 5 minutes if you don't have a lot of time, to focus only on technique. Pick a chord and try to make it with your thumb in a healthy position. And if it feels awkward, and if you're like, oh, the other way was easy, the other way sounds good, the new way doesn't sound good, that's normal, and that's part of the process. And to continue to progress on guitar, you're going to have to make these kinds of adjustments from time to time. And learning to make your chord with the new thumb position is not going to be any harder than it was to learn to make that chord in the first place. And it'll probably be actually in reality a little bit easier, even though I know it's hard to switch when the old one's working and the new one is awkward. But if you spend a little bit of time focusing on that at the beginning of each practice, and then as long as you're not in severe pain, just go ahead and play music and don't worry about it. You don't usually, if you're not in severe pain, you don't need to forbid yourself to play the old way. You just have to raise your consciousness about the new way, spend some time on that at the beginning of your practice, and gradually it will switch over and become a new habit. So we've talked about how we don't want to be laying down like this, but it can be kind of tricky to get your thumb up on the tip, especially when you're used to playing like that. And I have a couple more things to say about thumb. This is not the only issue, but everybody's thumb is different. I'm lucky in that my thumb right here bends backwards a little bit, and that makes it so that I can use that bend. It's hard to see, but where you can see, I can use that to help me. But also, it's also proper if your thumb is like this. This works okay too. If you're on the, this is the back of the guitar neck and your thumb is bent a little. But this can be very handy and use less strain on the rest of your muscles if this works for you. But if that doesn't work for you, that is okay. Another word or two about classical technique. This is a good place to start, but even classical players won't have this exact position all the time. And especially if you get into playing, well, let me say this first. This technique is great for getting around. If I hold my thumb in one place, I can reach down here and up here without even, see how my thumb's still in the same place? Great for getting from here to there really fast without having to shift your arm or your thumb. But if you look at top 10 guitarists or something like that, you will see a lot of rock and roll, folk, blues players play with something more like this. I call it the fist grab. You can get a nice strong chord with a straight wrist using the fist grab technique, which is basically just a comfortable fist, lightly, I'm not squeezing, and you just kind of lay your guitar in there and let your thumb stick up above the neck and make your chord shapes. Again, if this is new, it will feel awkward at first, but if you spend some time focusing on this very slowly in your warm-up, in your exercises, when there's no song at stake, then you'll feel better about it. And it can gradually become part of your songs, okay? So right now I'm making, let me make the common G shape for you, because a lot of you are going to be familiar with this G shape. And I want you to focus on the thumb, okay? Now, a lot of times, if we're playing with the fist grab technique, I want to make sure you know this is very strong and very healthy. And if you don't need to get from here to there in an instant, this works really well, and a lot of great guitarists play this way. Notice my thumb again. It's easy when we are working with guitar, to go like that. That happens a lot with students. Most of the good players, you'll see the thumb kind of flops over. And I want you to notice that if I'm playing the G chord, and this is something you can watch for, when you're developing, you might have to develop your thumb position differently depending on what chord you're playing. Here's an example. When I'm playing my G chord, my tall finger is here on the 3rd fret. So if my thumb is flopping over, just sort of accidentally touching the 6th string, that doesn't hurt anything. It actually helps a lot because then my thumb gets to relax and there's less tension and less chance of creating injury or pain. Only occasionally do you need your thumb to be poking up like that. This causes more tension, but say if I was playing an A chord and I wanted to hear the 5th and the 6th string, I might need to poke my thumb straight up so that the 6th string would ring. If I'm playing an E chord, I would want the 6th string to ring. So I'm going to let my thumb poke up. It takes a little more work, but that's just for the E chord. If I let it flop over, it's going to damp that 6th string. So for E chord, so just you decide if the thumb is okay to flop over and mute the string or not. G, it's fine to flop over. I often play C. This is a lesson for another day if you're not familiar with this, but here's your common C shape. If I move my finger here and pinky here, that is also a common C shape. And if I'm playing that, see right now, here's an example of more of a classical thumb. But if I want to feel stronger, I'm going to let my thumb flop over in the fist grab technique. Very strong, very comfortable, takes a lot less effort. And now my thumb's flopping over, which helps my thumb relax. And it's okay if it's touching that 6th string because the 6th string is being fretted here and it's going to ring. Okay? So just a quick recap. This is the thing I'm suggesting that you never do. That causes a lot of strain in the meaty part of your thumb. You want to get up on the tip of your thumb, try to keep a straight wrist, and I have some help for that in developing good guitar technique lessons. This is kind of a classical thumb where there's some air in here, and you're using the tip of your thumb either bent like that or flopped back over. Fist grab technique is awesome, but watch out for that, okay? This causes tension, and it's easy to do without realizing it, but every opportunity, if you're using the fist grab technique, like probably a lot of your guitar idols, if you like folk, rock, blues, are playing this way. And just watch out for the extra tension here. Let it flop over every chance you get. And remember, like I said at the beginning, every opportunity, relax. That is another great thing to practice during your warm-up and your exercises. You can make a chord, and then when it's time to change, instant relaxation, but practice the chord, C chord for example. Practice feeling total relaxation, and then make your other chord total relaxation, and gradually you'll remember that feeling and make it a habit. Please like and subscribe if these videos are helpful, and share. Those things help me to do more of this work, and I really appreciate your help. And if these things don't help you to get rid of your thumb pain, please let me know and we'll figure out what it is. Bye-bye.